About a year or so ago, we decided to talk about our process in terms of human agility. And I've had people ask me, so what is human agility, Linda? And I wrote up some things and they're on the website, but I thought maybe I could share some thoughts with you about human agility and how important it is, because it is really, really, really important right now for what is going on in the world today. And it's always been important. Now, we think of agility. If you look at agility on the web, you'll find out all kinds of things about a dog agility and physical agility. How agile are we with our mind and our spirit and who we are and the way we respond to people? So this is what we call human agility. So what does it mean? What makes us human? What makes human agility different from, say, dog agility? Well, I don't know much about dogs or other animals to know whether they actually can do one of the key things that goes with human agility. But what it takes to be human, and when you are agile with your interactions with others, with how you think about things, it's being agile in your mind and your spirit. And the key thing to that is perspective taking. It's a capacity that we humans have. And when we come into being, we aren't even aware that we have a perspective. We're fused with what's going on around us. You know, babies, first of all, don't separate even their awareness from themselves for their mother. So, you know, there is no sense of identity in the very, very beginning. And as we grow, and as we're enculturated even, we're taught that, you know, how you see things is different than how I see things. So we start to see that, so we're fused in the beginning, and then we start to see, oh, there are differences. And that's the first step of developing human agility, is we start to see that other people see things differently than us, that they are different from us, and that there are differences. And in the very beginning, we think, oh, but they're different, but mine's better. And eventually we start to see that those other perspectives have value. So we start to be able to take the perspective of other people in a more agile way. Other people, other cultures. So as we learn to take these perspectives, we can then learn to shift our own perspective. And that's important whether we're interacting with others or whether we're working toward world peace. Because the capacity to shift our perspective personally and interpersonally, and as we think of the larger ways that we are on the planet and work toward understanding other cultures and other people and other groups, there's also, it's very beneficial to have that perspective shifting capacity toward yourself, to be able to reframe things, to see things in a different light. And that creates a much better sense of well-being and adaptation. So in a way, human agility is adaptability. And another piece of it is perspective seeking. So once we know that these other perspectives have value, we can get out of the way and let other people do things their way, using their talents as opposed to our talents. And we can say that we value them, but we need to seek others' perspectives when we need a different perspective to solve our problems. So this capacity for perspective taking, perspective shifting, and perspective seeking, those are the capacities that we really, really need to develop. And it helps to know what your perspectives are. And we get a little of that as we're growing up. People tell us what our perspectives are. We learn from the culture that maybe we have, you know, I'm a woman, so I have a female perspective, or grew up in a small town in Kansas, so maybe I have this small town perspective. But we learn a language to start to talk about our perspectives. There are some perspectives that we are totally unaware of, that we don't even know we have. They're unconscious. And until recent years, we really weren't that aware of cultural differences. And so those were unconscious, but now we start to have them highlighted by learning about them. So we have these different things that we've had a language for, but there are some things that our perspectives come from that are at our core. They're unconscious drivers of how we see the world. They inform our perspectives. And so if we have a language for understanding individual differences, we now have a way to make those perspectives visible, to consciously make space for other perspectives when we see them as we identify them, and then to shift those perspectives and to even learn to speak a language so somebody can understand what you're saying. So these kinds of perspective taking, perspective shifting, and then perspective seeking skills become parts of ways that we can be self-managing, the way that we can do self-leadership. Very important skill to have. And it's a capacity that's needed as we have increased complexity in the world. So let me give you an example of how that works. I had a business and had an admin who helped me do everything. I mean, she ran the business in many ways. You know, she filled orders, she answered the phone, she reached out to customers, she did customer service, she did all kinds of things. And so she'd say, "Linda, have a question." And she'd ask me her question. And she'd usually say, "Quick question." And then I would give her a long answer. And I would give her the strategic answer. And then I would think, oh, shoot, I did it again. That was a tactical kind of thing. She needed to know what action to take. In the moment, she didn't need to know how it all fit in the big picture. So I was running my BLM agenda, be like me, unconsciously, and even though I know about all of these differences, I still hadn't shifted my perspective. And so we had a little language where she would say, "Linda, not the strategic answer, the tactical language." And she would use that language for me. So we could use that language with each other and cue each other to help us shift. So this developing human agility is sometimes not a project that you develop by yourself. You know, you take it on. You need the help of other people. And having an approach that makes all of these different perspectives whole and healthy and good, that makes a big difference. And so that's what we are trying to do as we're helping people develop human agility. And it's so very, very important because if we don't know what to shift to, we don't know how to shift. So the language I used with strategic and tactical in my example, my strategic answer to a tactical question, that comes from a lens that we call essential motivators. And that's just one of the lenses that we use to help people develop their agility. There are 4 basic essential motivator patterns, and those, each one has a talent and it has a core psychological need. So that unconscious need is what's going to drive us most of the time. And so since I think strategy is so important, it's kind of my talent, I'll go there first. And I have to learn to get out of the way and to make space for others. And I also have to know when to say, wait a minute, we need to take a strategic approach here. We need to consider all of these other contingencies and how that's going to impact the future in the end. So this developing agility, human agility, is a process that we can learn. There are practices that we can use with ourselves and with each other. And I just want us to all realize that understanding our unconscious operating systems that come from our personality models is one of the ways that can help us. Looking at our essential motivator patterns, otherwise known as temperament, looking at our interaction style of interacting, looking at our cognitive processes and cognitive style, how we tend to think about things and what our intentions are from that. All of those things help us develop the human agility. And there's a whole lot more to developing human agility than just the models. It's the approach that we take when we use the models. So it isn't a quick fix, but it does open the door to human agility. And I'll talk about that next time. Thank you for joining me.